Okay, what if I told you that you could solve a huge economic problem with, get this, a high school math project? Well, that's exactly what we're going to look at today. We're going to see how two students took on a massive waste problem in their own backyard. And it all started with, believe it or not, a simple apple.
So, let's set the scene. We're in Tulkibas, a district way down in southern Kazakhstan. And this place, well, it's pretty much famous for one thing: apples. I mean, we're talking orchards for days. The harvests are so huge, you'd think it's a total blessing, right? But as you're about to find out, sometimes too much of a good thing can have a serious downside.
And yeah, this is exactly where that beautiful picture starts to get a little complicated. Because here's the thing, all that abundance, it was actually creating a huge problem. We're talking tons of waste, inefficiency, and just lost money and opportunity for the whole community.
And you know, this wasn't just some abstract economic problem you'd read about in a textbook. No, for the people who actually lived there, this was real. They could see it every day. Local farms were struggling. The nearby canning factory just wasn't living up to its potential. They were literally watching all this value just wither on the vine. Or worse, end up in the trash.
So that's where our two heroes come in. Two 10th graders, Asalbek Ayajan and Jumabay Magzan. And this question, why can't we solve this, it really got to them. They felt this incredibly deep personal responsibility. I mean, for them, this was so much more than just a school project. This was about honoring their home, their legacy, and figuring out a way to help their community really thrive again.
So, what was their big idea? Well, they didn't look at buying new machines or building some expensive new factory. Nope, they looked to a totally different kind of tool. They decided to fight this problem with the pure logic and precision of math. Now, mathematical modeling might sound super complicated, but the core idea is actually pretty straightforward. Think of it like creating a digital twin of a real-world process. It lets you play around with all sorts of different scenarios, like what if we did this to the production line, and find the absolute best, most efficient way to do things. And the best part, it's all done on a computer without wasting a single real apple.
So here's the breakdown of how their apple model actually works. It's pretty cool. Step 1, you start with a baseline, let's say 1,000 kilograms of apples. Step 2, their code goes in and identifies every single useful thing you can get from those apples. Now, step 3, this is where the magic really happens. The model runs tons and tons of calculations to figure out the absolute perfect mix of products to get the most value. And finally, step 4, it spits out an exact recipe for how to do it with the least amount of waste possible. Genius, right?
All right, so this is the moment of truth. They built the model, they plugged in all the data. So what did the numbers actually say? What was really possible?
And wow, check this out. The results are pretty amazing. Their model showed that with the right process, you could turn that ton of apples mostly into juice and pectin. That's a valuable gelling agent used in jams and stuff, plus a few other useful things. But just look at that tiny little slice at the end. That's the number we really need to pay attention to.
Okay, let's put those percentages into real-world numbers, because this is where it gets really impressive. Out of that initial 1,000 kilograms of apples, you're getting 650 kilos of juice and a whopping 270 kilos of pectin. And that tiny waste number, that means only 45 kilos of actual unusable stuff is left. That's it.
So let's just focus on that one number, 4.5%. That's it. That's all the waste. By using their model, these students proved that it was mathematically possible to use over 95% of every single apple. That is a huge leap in efficiency, and it was all figured out with some smart coding and brilliant thinking.
But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn. Hitting that 95% efficiency mark made the students think bigger. They started asking why was so much being wasted in the first place? And they had this amazing realization. Even the best technology in the world is useless if people don't have the right mindset to use it. The model was just a tool. The real change, the lasting change, had to come from people.
So their research took them, virtually at least, all the way to Japan, where they found this incredible concept. It's a single word, mottainai. And for them, this word was like the missing piece of the entire puzzle.
See, mottainai is so much more than just saying don't waste. It's this deep cultural feeling, a sense of regret when anything, food, time, even a person's potential, isn't used to its absolute fullest. It's a core belief that everything has value and you should treat it with respect.
You can think of this philosophy as kind of the soul behind all the practical things we're told to do, It's the why behind reduce, reuse, and recycle. And the students pointed out that Motainai adds a fourth super important R to that list: respect. Respect for the resources, for the people who grew them, and for the planet. Okay, so now they have these two amazing tools, right? On one hand, a mathematical model for incredible efficiency, and on the other, a cultural philosophy for being mindful about waste. The last step for their project was to figure out how to put them together into a real plan for their community. And their final proposal is honestly just brilliant, because it's not about top-down change. It starts at the grassroots level. They didn't just want to hand a report to the factory owner. No, they wanted to weave these ideas right into the fabric of the community. Things like teaching modeling in schools, getting families to talk about ecological habits. The ultimate goal was to build a whole new local culture of zero waste, kind of like their very own Kazakhstani version of Motainai, inspired by their project.
So, the work of these two students leaves all of us with a really powerful final thought. It makes you look around at the so-called waste in your own life, in your community, in your job, and it forces you to ask a simple question. Is it really waste, or is it just a resource that's waiting for you to build the right model to unlock its true potential?